Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Visibility Factor podcast. This is Sue Barber, your host. Today, I want to talk about a shift that I see a lot of leaders struggle with, especially high performers. And that is the shift from doing the work to being known for the work. It's a subtle transition that's just not always obvious, but it's often the exact reason leaders feel stuck, overlooked, or unsure why they haven't been able to move ahead. Because what got you here, being reliable, being capable, delivering all the things that you've been known for, isn't the same thing that's going to take you to the next level. Most leaders I work with are doing really strong work. They're accomplishing so much every week. They're the ones that everybody counts on, right? They follow through, they solve problems, they get things done. But when it comes to being included in bigger conversations where they might be influencing decisions or being considered for what's next, something doesn't quite translate. Somehow they're known as the person who's doing everything versus the person that they can see filling those bigger roles. That's what I call a visibility gap. It's not a performance issue. They're really good at what they do, but it is a translation issue. The effort is there, but the impact isn't fully visible in the moments that matter. When I talk to new clients, one of the things I ask them about is what they're doing. And they'll tell me all the great things that they're doing. And I'll ask them who is aware of those things. Have you shared those with your boss or other people? And they look down and a little embarrassed and say, no, nobody really knows that I'm doing those things. Think about for yourself at earlier stages in your career, your success was defined by execution. Mine was too. I thought working a lot of hours and working really hard was all that I needed to do. And that's what people cared about, right? Especially before you have a team, before you get too high up in the organization. They care if you can get the work done because that's what's building your credibility. Can people rely on you? Do you deliver? But as you grow, the expectations shift. And if you're not paying attention, you might miss it. Now it's about how do you think? How do you communicate? How do you make an impact? How do you influence? What are you known for? You're no longer evaluated on what you complete, you're evaluated on what people associate you with. So when I'm coaching someone, what I'll tell people is that their to-do list has changed. Their to-do list before they became a leader of people or had more influence or more responsibility was a list of things that they needed to do each day. They might need to run reports. They might need to check in with other people. The list changes as you take on more strategic roles. Did I think about this today? Did I plan? Did I put a strategy together? Did I have some influencing conversations to move things forward? It's a very different list. But it happens so subtly over time where your responsibilities change that you don't realize that the work that you need to be doing is different. And I think that causes a gap for people because they're so used to doing all of these things and getting them done and crossing them off their list. It's very rewarding. And the list to think about something or to plan something just doesn't have the same feel. So they struggle with it a little bit. But over time, if they get used to it, it really can make a difference. So let's talk about where high performers get stuck. Used to being in execution mode. That's what they're known for. That's what they're good at. And they tend to stay there too long because it feels comfortable. It feels easy. And they take pride in what they're doing. They work really hard. They are the subject matter expert in most cases, the go-to person. They don't want to come across as self-promoting. And so they assume that their work is going to speak for them, just like I did. But here's the reality. Execution creates dependence, not visibility. The more you're known for doing, the less you're known for leading. And that can quietly limit your growth. So what does it actually mean to be known for the work? What does that look like? This isn't about self-promotion. It's about making your impact clear, showing the value. It means helping others understand why it matters and ensuring that your contribution can be described even when you're not in the room. A simple question to think about is if someone had to describe your impact in one sentence, could they do it? Could they name the three things that you're known for? If it's hard for them to answer those questions, that's where the opportunity is. Because remember, they're in rooms that you're not in. Sometimes they're in rooms where they may need to represent you and talk about you for an opportunity or succession planning for a new role. Minimally, your manager needs to know these things, but there may be other people in the organization who should also know those things. So think about who those key players and decision makers might be and make sure that you can give them the answers to those questions. So there are three shifts that I want you to think about to help you move from execution to ownership at a higher level. So this first one is not just telling what you've done, but sharing what was done, sharing what it means, what problem did it solve, what risk did it reduce, what outcome did it drive. You have to make it meaningful. What is the value that you provided? You might have been having conversations and helped influence a decision or move something forward in a project where it was stuck. You might tend to minimize that. You might think, well, that's no big deal. That's just part of my job. It actually is a big deal because if you're moving something forward, helping something be simpler, maybe saving money, all of those things are touching the business, making it better. You have to think about it from a business impact and whether or not the things that you're doing are actually making a difference. The second one is moving from tasks into creating outcomes. So you, instead of I completed this, you might say, I'm accountable for this. I helped influence this. I drove decision making. I led the team. I developed the team. Whatever it is, that shift in language changes how people see you. And the third one is moving from being relied upon to being referenced. At higher levels, it's not about people coming to you and asking you questions. It's about people talking about your work when you're not there. Sometimes when I'm working with leaders who are directors and above, they are getting all the questions from their team. And I'll ask them, help me understand what's preventing them from being able to figure out those answers on their own. And it's kind of this light bulb moment for many of them because they're used to being the person who has all the answers. They've been there for a longer time, probably. They know more information. They've been through more situations. And it's just easy for them to answer the questions. But what they're doing is preventing their team from being able to develop and grow and solve their own problems. So many times I will move them from telling all the answers to coaching and guiding. It's a very different way of asking questions instead of just assuming that the person doesn't know the answers. It's helping them learn how to create those answers for themselves. So asking them what they've done already, asking them who they've talked to, what research have they done, who else could they talk to in the organization to help them get to the answers. The goal is to help them learn how to do this on their own. And that is what you need to be able to do to be seen in a different way. So if you don't make this shift, you are the person who is solid, but not strategic, valuable, but not ready for the next step, dependable, but not influential. And for organizations, this shows up as underutilized talent. I was just on a podcast today and I was talking about this because what would happen if we could change that? What would happen if all the underutilized talent actually was able to start speaking up, share ideas, be creative, be innovative, start to move projects forward without help or without hiding? In many cases, they're hiding from doing more because that might put them in the spotlight too much. They might feel like they're not ready for these things because of an old situation that they're holding on to that is no longer true. Or, like in my case, they might have imposter syndrome and feel like they don't belong at the table and don't have a voice that matters. Those are things that need to shift. And if we could make those shifts happen, how amazing would that be for those leaders? But it also has a really big impact on that company. Leaders who are capable of more but not positioned for more need to be thinking about what could I do to start talking about the things that I'm doing in a bigger way. So I want you to think about this. Are you known for doing the work or for the impact of the work? Because your next level isn't about doing more, it's about being known differently. This is a shift that is taking you from doing more to being known for more. I want you to understand at the next level, you can't be the person who is doing more. You're going to have a team. That's when people who work for you are going to be doing things to support you. We want you to be known as someone who's influential, someone who's able to move something forward when it gets stuck, someone who develops their team, someone who is talking to decision makers and sitting in the room with influencers and making big changes. So imagine for a minute, if you're someone who's known for doing things, you're the subject matter expert, the one everyone comes to. What if we move you from being that person who does too much, probably helps everyone else out but yourself, and moves you into a place where you sit at the table. And now you get to have conversations with senior leaders, with decision makers, with influencers about what the future looks like. Your voice matters. They see you as someone who's confident, who is ready to go to the next level. That is you showing up as an equal with people even before you may be ready. I want you to be someone who is able to share your creative, innovative ideas and be known for more than you think you can right now. There's a lot of things that have to shift in your mindset in order for you to really be amazing at this next level. So let's start making those changes now. There's no need to wait until you get that role. Let's start making that shift now and start showing that you're ready for it, even before you're officially applying for the role. That is what I try to help leaders do every day because I can see their potential sometimes before they can. I see the possibilities for them before they can. And so, what I'm trying to do is help them learn how to talk in a different way, a more strategic way, and be the one that can sit at the table and actually have a really big influence on what's happening in the organization and for their own leadership and maybe for their own team as well. Thank you for being here. I hope this episode was helpful. If you know someone in your world who would benefit from hearing it, please share this with them. I would love you to leave a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, wherever you listen, even if it's just one sentence that shares a little bit about what you've gotten out of the show. I know so many of you are listening and are sharing ideas and what you're hearing from it that you've been able to put into practice. I would love for other people to be able to find the show, and your reviews make a difference. So if you would take a moment, you have to do it on your phone, but if you can go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go to the Visibility Factor page, and halfway down, you'll find the place to leave a review. I would so appreciate you doing that. Thanks so much for joining today on the Visibility Factor podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one.